This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City look for their first road win of the season as they return to the site of their 2021 MLS Cup victory. And now, here are your hosts, Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
Well, I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Matty Lawrence, and we're bringing you the live commentary today. And Matty, it's something that you had to ask every person that was involved with this and that was here for that game. Just what are your memories? Did it feel good coming back? And the prevailing theme was yes. Everybody liked being back here and just kind of being able to relive the moment a bit.
Yeah, I think you'd be a little foolish if it didn't bring back good memories, and you want that feel-good factor to return as well. I know obviously not everybody in the starting lineup, everybody in the squad was here at that time, but I think that the team and the squad as a whole, I think they can appreciate what happened in 2021. I think most of the players have a certain modicum of empathy. I think they'll realise what a good place it is to come back to. It is that moment of wonder, of glory, the minute that Alex Garland's penalty hit the back of the net. I think that everybody here is appreciative of what happened on that day. And look, what better way than to kick off a first away win than back at this place. It's a pretty wonderful arena. You've got it on show there just to the left of the StreamYard of the FaceTime Live, and it really is.
Formerly a baseball park, and was built in 1929. It's undergone reservations along the way, but it was I think a double-A baseball team. I know the Portland Pilots used to play here, and so it's a fairly sports-crazed town, especially on the soccer side. I think I've related this to you, Matty. When I coached at Rutgers, I brought my team here because I wanted them to experience 7,000 in the stands for a women's collegiate soccer match, which was pretty phenomenal. Sophie Schmidt, Megan Rapinoe on the side of Portland, one a Canadian national team player, one Megan Rapinoe is fairly in that household name range, and it was an experience, and it's been that way. And I'll never forget this old couple. We lost the game 2-1 on a really poor penalty call. I mean, just absolute. Shambolic, if I may use your word. And but this older couple on my way out, I was pretty disgruntled, and they stopped me and they just wanted to. They just said, what a wonderful game. We didn't even know about your team, and I was like, do you come to all the games? Oh yeah, we support all the different sports in town, so they go to everything. But the support for soccer is phenomenal. And last night, Portland Thorns played the Washington Spirit in the NWSL. I came with a group of people, 20,000. It was rocking, and it was a wide-open affair. The home team won 4-2, and Sophia Smith is one to look out for in the Women's World Cup for the U.S. Women's National Team. She had a hat trick, but what a special performance and a special player. But just talking about, and it's kind of a relic, and you get that feel coming around. We had to walk across a very narrow ramp. It's right behind us, actually, to get to our spot. We're actually outdoors here. We're outside of the press box where they've set up this auxiliary position, because when they originally built it, they really didn't have a massive amount of TV and radio booths in mind, Sure,
and sometimes when we use the word relic, we think of incredibly old, and we think almost in a disparaging manner, but I like this. I like the old feel of it, and you can tell just about that it used to be a baseball stadium. When you look down at the bleachers and you look around the stadium, you can see the little arc that's just down below to our left. But they've done a wonderful job. If you were to tell me if I'd have come in here and just thought it was totally soccer specific and had never been a baseball stadium, I'd totally believe you if you told me that as well. It's just got a wonderful feel to it. The stands have been built up very, very well. They've increased the capacity fantastically well without losing, the historical feel to this stadium. And you sent me pictures. I didn't come to the game last night, but you sent me pictures last night, and the stands are absolutely packed. And as you say, this is crazy. A real sporting town without having that many professional sports teams within it, if I'm not mistaken. It's the Trailblazers, the Thorns, and the Timbers, as far as I'm aware. And everybody I've seen downtown wearing Trailblazers jerseys have had Scoot Henderson put on the back, who I think was drafted number 3 in the NBA draft. So people have got into it straight away. That's basketball. And obviously soccer, we have game after game. Thorns last night and the Timbers tonight, and there'll be 20,000 at both games.
You mentioned Alexander Collins, so do you want to see and hear
Absolutely,
that goal?
Of course.
All right, so this is the one. And certainly it lives in the famous annals of the history, and it's a short history of New York City FC, but to this point, a defining moment in the history of the club.
Alex Collins, the 5th and final taker for New York City against New England, stroked home the game-winning penalty. Can he do it again? Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy.
All right, that's why you listen to hometown radio. So, it was, and we were positioned in the crowd. John Rojas substituted for Matty Lawrence, was not able to be here for that one. And it was just, the penalties were all taken at the end where we were positioned, and we got such a strong look at it. But you see Alexander Collins, he's one of the players that New York City severely misses here in 2023, was with the club last year as well. Left for Girona in La Liga. Did not play a lot. Part of it was due to injury. Other times it was a coach's decision. And there was even a point in there where New York City, there was some consideration about maybe seeing if Collins would consider a return. And why not? I mean, maybe he's not particularly happy with playing time and maybe could come back, but those sorts of things are rather sensitive. And one thing we've learned from Alexander Collins, I think, since his departure, is that he wants to continue to try it in Europe.
Yeah.
And he's 30 now, and there's not much time left for him to, and I think we both believe that he certainly is good enough to perform at that level.
Yeah, he's definitely good enough to perform at that level. Yes, he didn't get his chance at the back end of this season at Girona, but I think it will come, whether it's at Girona or whether it's somewhere else. Of course, you'd want him to come back here to NYCFC, but I think it would be a backward step. And I think that's factual. I don't think that's being disparaging to either MLS or to NYCFC. No. If we're talking about Girona, a top 10 team in La Liga, one of the best 3 leagues in Europe, then he'd be silly to leave it, and certainly to return here to NYCFC. But you talk about missing Collins, and it's the whole spine of the team that's been ripped out from that 2021 game. You only need to go from Sean Johnson through Collins, through James Sands, who's not here today and was away at Rangers on loan, through Maxi Morales, through Tati Castellanos. It's the whole spine of the team. That's the strength of the team, is the spine of the team. The same as in your body, the spine is the strong part of it. It's very, very hard.
And it's not disparaging to suggest that those who have filled in at those positions or have come in have not reached the same levels. And however it's been sorted out, it's been a tough haul. It's 10 games without a victory, although it's 4 consecutive games without a loss, a number of draws, very few goals. There were 2 0-0 draws there, a 2-2 tie, and then the most recent, a 1-1 draw with Columbus. The most recent was the 2-2 at Atlanta United earlier in the week. And that's a tough one because you're up 2-1. Gabby Padetta scores the brace, and you're hanging on, and that's the feeling you got near the end of this. And then Nick Firmino, who scores his first MLS goal off of what had to be described as just a poorly defended end of game play, 4th minute of stoppage time, and Atlanta ties it up. So there's no other way to put it. That was demoralizing. Nick Cushing in the postgame accidentally said loss, I think, once or twice, because that's the way it feels when you surrender a lead that late and you get out of there with a point. Under normal circumstances, though, you go to Atlanta, you get a point, and you're not going to be particularly displeased, right?
Yeah, of course. But also we have to look at the side that Atlanta United put out, an average age of something like 22 and a half. So it was by their standards, it was a poor Atlanta United
side.
No
Almada, no Giacomakis.
Yeah, they lost 17 goals with just those two players, which was as many basically as NYCFC have scored all season.
So
that's a huge loss. But yeah, they ground out the draw. But once you're 2-1 up going into injury time, additional time, of course it feels like a loss. And guess what? You've lost 2 points. You were going into the 91st minute with 3 points, so you lost 2 of them. So it's no wonder that Nick Cushing, mistakenly said it was a loss. It wasn't. It was a draw. But I think for everybody involved with NYCFC, it felt like a loss. It was. Yeah. It's tough, and it's another one of those.
And it's 2
bits
points
of pills
dropped,
to swallow.
Which is.
It's
difficult when you look in the live standings. I'm going to run down some of the scores. Here, we're out on the West Coast. Hope you're staying up late. What do you have? Your hot tea, your coffee, I don't know, whatever. What do you? I go for coffee or espresso to stay up late. What do you do?
What do I do? I would just pop open another beer, I think.
Really?
Is what I would do.
Well, hey, we have a very exciting announcement. So this is in the refrigerator here at Portland's press area. The press box is to our right. And we were informed, I was informed actually while I was in there grabbing this beverage, that post-game there will be beers in the refrigerator. Matty Lawrence, I don't believe that has happened. And I think Providence Park should be the model, I think, for post-games around the now, I'm sure everybody watching, not everybody drinks beer or alcohol at all, understood. But we're both pretty stoked that there's going to be a beer waiting for us at the conclusion.
Yeah, if I disappear during additional time of the game, you know that I'm going to get you a beer, Glenn. That's all I'm going. Not for halftime. Definitely
grab those starting lines. Let's show the starting line. All right, so here, let's go. This is New York City FC. You'll see Matt Freese is in goal for Luis Barraza, who had a bit of a howler in that 2-2 draw at Atlanta United. Whether that had anything to do with it or not, we know that Nick Cushing along the way has said Matt Freese is going to play some games. So this is where he's chosen to insert Matt Freese. Misha Ilinic back at the right back or wing back. It certainly looks like, again, a 3-back system. Chanot in the middle, Hack on the left, Tavon Gray on the right. That's what we're anticipating. And Tylus Magno in for Richie Ledesma. That's one of the changes. Now, Ledesma, he's not here. He got married. Ledesma got married. It was something that was planned and arranged while he was at PSV, so it was understood by New York City. It's a loan. Richie Ledesma is here on loan. It had already been arranged, so he got married today, right?
Yes,
it was today. And we've seen some pictures from his Instagram, and so Magno back in the lineup for Ledesma, who got his 5th assist in the game against Atlanta United. And his progressive touches, I thought, in that match were very, very good. We really got a good feel of what Richie Ledesma could do on the attacking side. So he's going to be missed. He's going to be missed because he's coming off a really, really solid performance.
Yeah, not just missed whether he's in the starting line, missed whether it's in the squad or not, because you look down at the bench and there isn't a great deal of attacking talent there to come on. So I understand it. Look, I find it very hard as a former pro to think of ever missing a game for any other reason than being injured. But I do get it. He was at PSV, a team in Europe, obviously, so his wedding was arranged for the off-season in PSV. Who was he to know, or in the Netherlands rather, who was he to know that he was then going to get loaned out to MLS? Right. I understand it. It's probably, it feels worse because of the time that NYCFC are going through right now, the bad time.
Right.
But I do get it in terms of, it's something that was agreed upon before he even joined on loan. So it's very, very hard to be disparaging of the fact that he's missing through a non-soccer related matter.
Right. Well, earlier this week, I guess it was yesterday, we went out to practice here in Portland, and then back at the hotel I was able to corral Nick Cushing, part of our pregame show, which is coming up at 10:15 Eastern Time, 7:15 local, part of our live commentary on the New York City FC Network. It's about an 11 or 12-minute conversation. But we really dug in certain areas, and I wanted you to listen to this portion where I asked him, talking about the attacking side, Santi Rodriguez, Richie Ledesma, Tyler Magno, and here was our back and forth a little bit here.
And a Santi Rodriguez who maybe is not particularly positioned where he can be best effective. I'm not sure how you think of it in those terms as you await the possibility of somebody who might be transferring in up the middle.
Yeah, I think ultimately we know where the squad is. We know what is going to improve us in the short term, in the sense of the transfer window. But I think for us it's about the demands that we put on the likes of Santi and Tales and Richie and those guys is we want them to add goals and assists, and that's their role within the team. And I think in this moment where we're a little bit depleted and we're a little bit fatigued purely based on the depth that we have with international duties and injuries. Santi is playing really, really well. Maybe at moments he's a little bit deeper and he's involved in building the play and he's controlling the game for us with his ability to take the ball under pressure, which means he's not going to be that player that finishes the attacks because he's really involved in creating and building them. Gabriel Pereira's been excellent. Tales Magno, has a real desire to want to add goals to his game, more goals, more assists, and we're working with him. We put the expectations and demands on him, and he's really hungry to do that. And I think Richie Ledesma's been brilliant at creating for others, assists, but needs to add goals to his game if he's going to become that real good number 10. If you see across the league, they're in the 20s to 30s with goals and assists, and this is what I demand from them, but ultimately it's what the league demands from them. If we just look at last year and we look at Derusi and Gazdag and Mukhtar and those creative number 10s, they're up in the between 20s and 30s. And the one thing I can assure people, and I do see every day, is those guys, one, have a desire and a commitment to do that for the team, and they're working incredibly hard to make sure that they produce.
So there's an assessment on the attacking side, Nick Cushing, and he's working with what he has. And today it's without Ledesma. It's without a transfer in yet, although he continues to suggest that it's going to get done. And I think the thing that stood out for me is Ledesma as the number 10, really referring to his quality and what it might be expected of him, and how then that works around Santi Rodriguez, who we did see play on the left side when Maxim Morales was performing centrally. So maybe when things fall into place, unless Magno can somehow pick up steam, no goals for Magno since April the 22nd. That's the last time he scored. It was the victory against Dallas at Citi Field. So that's a long time ago.
It is. It's tough for any attacking player when your team is down in the doldrums, when you're not creating that many opportunities. I know a lot of that is down to the forward players themselves, but it is hard. I do think that Ledesma and Santi Rodriguez are very, very similar players as well. It's very hard to almost shoehorn both of those players into the team. If players are playing well and there's a true number 9, you would think it would be Tyler Magno on the left, Pereira on the right, and obviously the true number 9, then you need a number 10, and it can only be one of them. As I say, I find them very, very similar players, unless you go with James Sands as a holding 6 on his own and play almost with twin 8s, or call them twin 10s, if you will, playing in front of them, playing with that upturned triangle. That is the only other way I see this working out, because I don't think that Santi Rodriguez plays his best when he's out on the left-hand side. I think he solely is at his best when he plays through the middle. That's just my opinion. But you're also right, Tyler Magno is not playing well either. But almost who is at the moment? Who is playing well? Certainly nobody is playing well consistently over a bank of games. Players are playing well at times for little 60-minute stints within games, but it's not happening on consistent basis. Quite often not even over 90 minutes, let alone over a whole body of games.
All right, so today it's New York City trying to sort out a match against Portland here at Providence Park. which has brought great memories, and New York City's only win in the regular season against Portland. Portland has 5 wins to just 1 for New York City in the overall series, and that doesn't include the New York City triumph in MLS Cup 2021. We should look at some of the other scores from around the league. And Charlotte, I'll just run right through them. These are all full-time. Charlotte 0, Montreal 0, Columbus 2, Nashville 0. DC United thrashed Cincinnati 3-0. That was at Audi Field. New England 2, Toronto 1. Bruce Arena for New England versus Bob Bradley for Toronto. And those two will be connected forever. They coached with each other. They were both significant parts of the U.S. men's national team. The New York Red Bull, so New York City's most recent opponent, Atlanta, 2-2 down in Mercedes-Benz. Now at Red Bull Arena, the Red Bulls beat Atlanta 4-0. Philadelphia 4. Inter Miami 1. Sporting KC, a game that's 67 minutes in, trailing Chicago 1-0, and that is in Kansas City. Austin up on Houston 1-0. Colorado Galaxy, RSL Minnesota just underway. In addition to our game, it'll be LAFC at home to Vancouver, San Jose St. Louis, and Seattle Orlando. But Matty, before we close, if we look at the live standings in MLS, New York City FC right now 13th out of 15 in the Eastern Conference table. And before they play this game, they are level with Chicago and New York, who are slightly ahead of them on games played. And New York City, right now, as of this moment, 6 points underneath the playoff line. DC United, by virtue of their win today against Cincinnati, on 26 points. They're in 9th place. New York City on 20 points in 13th. So as the games progress, we're a little over the halfway mark. Points are becoming more and more important.
Yeah, and as you pointed out to me, Glenn, as well, it's not just 6 points outside of the playoffs. It's the fact that there's 3 teams ahead of NYCFC outside of the playoffs as well. Chicago and New York Red Bulls are both 3 points ahead of NYCFC, and Charlotte themselves are 4 points ahead of NYCFC.
Yeah.
So if it was just one team, if there was nobody or one team in between NYCFC and the playoffs, you may not be too worried. But the points tally is growing. 6 points to get in the playoffs.
Right.
And so the teams as well. You've got 3 teams, 3 points and more above NYCFC too. Even with a win here today against Portland Timbers, which we know will be incredibly difficult, you're still 3 points off the playoffs, and you've still got 3 teams probably ahead of you as well.
That's the way we've got it set up here. New York City at Portland, and you can hear the live commentary. Sync it up with the video, and that starts at 7:15 with the pregame show. That's local time, 10:15 Eastern time. Staying up late tonight to listen and watch New York City FC. Kickoff is 10:39 Eastern time, 10:39 p.m. Eastern time for the kickoff. Well, that'll do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. James Sands, by the way, who's away with the U.S. men's national team in the starting 11. They've just kicked off the U.S. facing Jamaica in the Gold Cup. So we'll keep track of James Sands as well. For Matty, I'm Glenn. Enjoy the game, everybody.